Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast with Blaha. And having some Greek yogurt with almond butter in it. And that's good. Got a nice big chunk of the almond butter. All right, today let's talk about some of these foods that come up that I've discussed in the past. There are studies on it that show very, very large amounts of muscle protein synthesis when they're studied in lifters post-workout and or even just in general. And what people forget is that there's a difference between understanding science and then all the bro myths that are out there. And a lot of those bro myths coming out of the bodybuilding world, the gym culture, things like that, that are bro science, are not really based upon reality. And so people will misinterpret data based upon their own ideas. And two foods that seem to be extremely anabolic are things like whole milk and whole eggs with the yolks. In other words, studies that have been done when they matched protein, it has been found that, say, post-workout, muscle protein synthesis goes up more through the day from whole milk than it does from skim milk. And a lot of people say, aha, well, it's all that cholesterol. It's a dietary cholesterol. And this creates myths, and I see it in my comments. It creates myths that dietary cholesterol itself boosts muscle growth, or they'll say it boosts testosterone. But the same people, and this is why it's hilarious, the same people will say, oh, it doesn't raise cholesterol at all, right? It doesn't cause any concern for your lipid profile to eat these things. Well, which is it? You can't have both. You can't stand there and claim, well, because testosterone and these other hormones are made from blood cholesterol, that's the precursors for them, and so therefore eating cholesterol gives more cholesterol in your bloodstream to make these things, and your testosterone goes up, which, by the way, doesn't appear to be true. And then you can't concurrently say, well, eating dietary cholesterol is fine because it doesn't raise your blood cholesterol. These are conflicting statements. Now, the reality is, for 60% of the population, dietary cholesterol has zero impact on your blood cholesterol. Well, so then for that hypothesis, 60% of the population wouldn't be getting these gains anyways. Only 40% of the human population seems to elevate blood cholesterol from dietary cholesterol. Why is that? Well, number one, we don't absorb that much of it. It's a big part of it. Number two, when we do get more in our diet that we absorb, our body stops making it. It just makes less of it. And that's what people forget. The human body is capable of creating dietary cholesterol from both fat that you eat and from the carbohydrates that you eat. Your body can make unlimited amounts of it. It has no problem making cholesterol. And so when we say stuff like, oh, well, thyroid hormones and testosterone and estrogen, all these other things are made from cholesterol, therefore we have to eat it. Well, no. You do require cholesterol to make these things, but your body can turn almost any type of calorie into cholesterol on its own at unlimited rates. All right, it can do it at unlimited rates. So again, the rest of the context of your diet matters in this sense, because that's why we get high cholesterol. And yes, high cholesterol is linked to heart disease. We have causation. This is not even really that debated anymore. Elevated LDL outside the normal range causes atherosclerosis. Now, what elevates LDL the most is what? Saturated fat in your diet, not cholesterol. And that's not a good thing. What elevates triglycerides the most? Highly refined carbohydrate, particularly refined sugars, excess fructose. That elevates your triglycerides the most, which is also harmful. Okay. So it's not the testosterone. And even if it was, it wouldn't matter. In other words, normal fluctuations in the normal range of testosterone affect muscle growth minimally. Okay, someone with low testosterone, okay. they'll gain a little bit less muscle. And people say, well, that's why women. No, 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 no. High testosterone women still have less testosterone than men who are deficient. Right? Men who fall low enough to need TRT still have more testosterone than women produce. So you're confusing two very different things. All right, these foods don't significantly boost testosterone when we really look closely at all the research. And if anything, we have testosterone levels are going down in American men. Well, American men eat lots of fat, right? There's no American man who or on average, we eat enormous amounts of fats as a society, one of the highest fat intakes in the world. Yet our testosterone levels are not going up. So what's really going on? And it's a lot more simple than this. Two things. Number one, these foods are anabolic because they're very high quality protein. Milk and eggs have some of the highest bioavailable protein you can possibly find with really good amino acid profiles. So when we start looking at the overall absorption of amino acids in certain ratios, they're extremely high. They're the best you're going to get. Like, these foods are superior for this purpose. That's an important one, but people say, well, why do the higher fat ones, though? When the protein is matched, they still have more muscle protein synthesis. Well, we come back over to the other point. What is it I always tell you guys? What's the most anabolic thing on earth? Calories. And it's that simple. These foods are extremely high calorie, combined with being extremely high in high quality proteins. It's all the fat in there is giving you calories. All calories are anabolic. This is the reason hard gainers need to eat higher fat diets, because they can't get enough calories in from carbohydrate. Now, if we're going to be honest here, carbohydrate calories are more anabolic than fat calories. Push come to shove, they would be slightly better. But if someone cannot get their calorie needs met, they can't meet their calorie needs from carbohydrate, particularly without going to a bunch of refined sugars, which is not even close to ideal. They have to jump their dietary fat up. They have to jack it up. These foods are full of dietary fat. They're large amounts of fat. There's a lot of calories. Calories are anabolic. Okay, food is anabolic. And it really is that simple. There's nothing more magical happening here than the high quality protein with a lot of calories thrown in. It's those calories that raise muscle protein synthesis. Again, that's the reason we tell people to gain muscle, you usually need to bulk, you need to overeat. It's beneficial. And there's no upper threshold. In other words, the more calories you eat, the more muscle you gain. It's just that as it goes higher and higher, what happens? Your fat gain starts outpacing the muscle gain. But you don't stop gaining muscle faster because you add another 500 calories. It's only a tiny, tiny little amount. And at that point, we can reach a point very quickly to where all the calories we're adding are giving us like 90% fat gain for only 10% muscle gain out of those extra calories. And it's easy to reach that threshold, in which case you're not bulking anymore, you're bulking. I've heard that term used. You're just fat bulking. And that's usually not desirable either, unless you're going to be a sumo wrestler or a super heavyweight strength athlete or football player or whatever. It's not desirable. It's not healthy. So when we make this point about these foods aren't magical. It's not that there's something magical and they're boosting testosterone and all this stuff. It's just that they have a lot of calories combined with the quality protein. And usually a lot of good nutrients in there. But it's not necessarily the healthiest thing for you to do. It may not be the healthiest way for you to gain muscle, unless you're in a very small surplus and your diet's very balanced. Right? All right, guys. Well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.